I am a 68-year-old woman who has a passion for connection in the community. I'm all about family and community and of them helping each other, to live well and to have agency in their life. So I feel like I'm a mother of the community. That's my root, who I am. And I do connection through storytelling and music. So I was married to this wonderful jazz musician, Harold McKinney, and he died in 2001, June 10th, or June 20th actually, but he went into a coma June 10th. And while he was in the coma, all of his work was in the basement, and the basement flooded. So I lost maybe 2/3 of his music, of his written music. You couldn't read it. So I ran around trying to find help from the repositories to save his music. And they told me no, I couldn't get anyone to help me. So I took the music that I had left and I put it in a storage unit. And then the storage unit had a flood. So it was in 2 floods. The second flood was even worse. And I lost more of his written music. But luckily, Harold did have some music that was in another place, in another recording studio. So I got that music. And this is the music that you were listening to, that my daughter was able to take the recorded music and have somebody write the lead sheets and the charts and make a new arrangement, and she recorded it. So we were able to save some of his music like that. Through this experience of trying to save his music, I became an archivist. I kind of came up the hard way of learning how society does not, because they would say we can't help you because either we don't collect black people, I mean, that's not in our scope, and you're in a black city, why don't you? So you can't, they're not going to help somebody who they don't collect their stuff. And also, we don't have money. Those were the 2 reasons. The state doesn't give us money to save people's collections. We can't do that. So I was telling somebody about this, a young man named Carlton Goltz, and he said, well, we got to do it ourselves. I said, that's right. That's why I'm in school. That's why I've become an archivist. I'm going to try to figure out how to do it myself. He says, well, let's make a group. So we got together and we made the Detroit Sound Conservancy. So our big milestones were first getting the building. The founder, Carlton Goltz, he's a wonderful public historian and a researcher. So he knew about all the jazz clubs in the city that were defunct. So many of them had been knocked down. And he read the demolition, and he was the one that saw that the Bluebird Inn was getting ready to be vanished. So that was the first milestone, is to get the building. And the Kresge gave us just enough money to get into trouble. Huh? They gave us enough money to get the building, but they refused to give us any money to develop it. They just gave us enough money to get it off the demolition list and list it in our name. So we have this board of directors that are musicians and DJs and, like me. So we decided that we were going to raise money, and we did it through a social media program. So we had raise the roof, kind of thing, and we had a temperature gauge. And on the temperature gauge was the amounts of money, right? So you could see how much money we were raising, and somehow that graphic was very helpful. And we also got a Patreon account. It's a money raising thing where people could put every month, put money in. They could hook up their bank account and they would automatically transfer $5, $20, $100 every month. So we sold Patreon. We got single donations. So we finally raised about $29,000 and we got the roof done. Doing that, we did newspaper accounts about how we were saving the Bluebird Inn. And so our name was in the news. And so people were kind of eager to start telling Bluebird stories, and from those Bluebird stories, we were able to interest more musicians to come together. So we started this thing called the Legacy Council. So we cooked a lot of good food and got the people to come to this old abandoned church. It's a Calvin, Episcopal church in the old West Side. So it's easily got to, it's down the street from the Bluebird Inn. And we invited people to come. We invited maybe 30 people and maybe 20 showed up. And they told their story, they introduced themselves and said how they were interested and how they were connected to music and the impact that music had on their life. And then they said, well, these are the problems we've had. We've had people rip us off. We've had, we don't have enough distribution. We're not included in the festivals. We're not, and they talked about what their problems were. And so we said, okay, that's fine. And we reported back to them. We made a report about what they said and gave it back to them. And then they said, well, now we want you to think about what are the solutions to these problems. So come back. So they came back, most of them. And some new people came in from out of nowhere, how they heard about it. And so they came in and they talked about how they could fix these problems. No place to rehearse. I don't have my rights down so that I can be safe in putting my music out there. So we found out that we could create our own festivals. We can do our own. We can give you access to lawyers. We can help you, become more. You have power over your intellectual property. You have power over your rights. And this is how you do it. This is how you apply for the mechanical rights. This is how you get your copyrights, register your copyrights. This is how you deal with the club owners. So it's good. It was good solutions that they came up with that they would like to see. And so now the Detroit Sound Conservancy has its marching orders, right? So we are now going to be able to create artists and residencies. We're going to be able to bring in experts and have clinics where they can register for their mechanical rights. We have digitization things. You can digitize what you have created and have a digital record of it, so that even if you have a house fire, your stuff will be saved into perpetuity. So because we have this digital storage for you that has preservation software in it. So this is what we're doing to make their lives, their contribution, their music sustainable into the future. And they're starting to trust us now. So now we're getting not salvage, now we're getting the actual collections of the musicians so that they are coming in. I think oral history kind of fills in the holes of where you don't have actual archival records. You have to use oral histories and storytelling to figure out how the arc of the community went, and so the sustainability to me comes in identifying and talking and getting these people to talk about their experiences, their life, their artifacts that they still have. They maybe have photographs. They may have merchandise that they sold, like different T-shirts. They may have the flyers and the postcards that they did to advertise their events. So they provide that kind of evidence of what they lived, what they experienced. And so these artifacts and the oral histories are the record. And that's how you can sustain the knowledge of where you have been, the history. And if you know where you've been, then you can project, into what the future may look like. And we have the universities sending students to help me do the archiving work, the processing work of the physical and the digital, so that they're starting to write reports and do scholarly journals, having articles about it, so that it's not only going to be in the community level, it's going to be in the academic level too. And that's important because from the academic level, people are reading these reports and says, well, I can make a movie with this body of work. So now we're having people come and visit the archives who say, I might be writing about this. And so I want to do a book based on how punk and garage, how they became, one became the other, and how the transition, and who was the people who did that. So who were the people who did that? So that's what is, to me, creating sustainability that is in these different arenas, different areas. It's not only just in the community level, now it's coming into the academic, now it's going to be coming into the professional, because they are learning the changes from some of the jazz tunes, and some of them are sampling some of the old jazz records, and they're making it into new music. So not only are they critiquing the music in the academic world or analyzing it, they're also still creating it, and they have a history of it too that is saved for whatever you're going to reuse it as.